The question is, how do you defend these cases, right? There's really two big defenses that we can utilize over and over and over again. These are in addition to procedures. If the law enforcement jacked up the procedures, that is a whole another story. And those are cases we can often win in pretrial litigation, maybe even in trial. So if the process and the procedures were done poorly, which they are in almost every single case, if you know what to look for, that's one issue. Now, beyond that, there's two main defenses to almost every one of these cases. The first is the obvious one, that's entrapment. So what is entrapment? Entrapment is when an otherwise innocent individual commits the crime through the unlawful inducements of the government. And so I'll say it again, you have to be an otherwise innocent individual. That burdens on the defense. So we have to get an expert, typically it's a forensic psychiatrist or a forensic psychologist, to evaluate you to show you have no previous disposition towards minors. Or there has to be some evidence. Say they looked at your phone and you were texting with all sorts of adults and no text with children. You had no CSAM on your phone. It is on the defense to show that you were an otherwise innocent individual to get the entrapment defense. People don't understand that. So that's the first hurdle. And then that you only committed the crimes through the unlawful inducements of the government. There's more to it than that, but that's the main piece of it. So in an entrapment defense, we're saying you did this. So people say, I was entrapped. Well, for entrapment to work, we're basically telling the jury that, yeah, you went to go meet a 14-year-old. And my response, no way, I didn't do that. Well, then entrapment doesn't necessarily work because you have to be an otherwise innocent individual who only committed the crime through the unlawful inducements of the government. A whole host of ways you can get entrapped. But entrapment means you committed the offense. This entrapment is a defense to the offense. So that is one way we can win, is on entrapment. But as soon as people understand that, what is involved in entrapment, they realize it's not always as solid of a defense as possible. The other defense is called mistake of fact as to age. And what that means is that the accused or the defendant reasonably believed that the person they were talking to was not a minor. And so that is the defense we go on with most of these cases. Most people call me, I was entrapped, sir, I was entrapped. Maybe you weren't. But the reality is the main defense that we win on is this mistake of fact as to age. Because in those circumstances, the government has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the government's burden to prove that you knew the age of the other individual. So if we can kind of make that area gray, how do we make it gray? Well, in this case, the girl posted on a 21 plus site. She said she was 26. The pictures were of a 30-year-old. When you ask for pictures, you got pictures of a 25 or 30-year-old. And so all of these are things that when a normal human being is looking at these, they have a reasonable belief that the person they're going to talk to is not a minor. And if the government can't prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, you win. And so we've had tremendous success on those. I mean, think about a case where, let's go meet at a bar. Well, how the hell are you going to get into a bar without an ID? So you're going to assume that they are of age. And so you really have to break these cases down from the operation, how the operation was run, the ROE, or the rules of engagement of the operation, the posting. Then you have to really sit and dissect the chats in a way that you couldn't believe, to prove, to either prove that the individual wasn't trapped, or more than likely that the government can't prove that you believe that you were chatting with a minor. So those are the two main defenses. And most people, when they call, they initially think, I was entrapped, it was entrapment. But the reality is that's typically the losing defense. Not always. I've won entrapment before, but that's typically the losing defense. The winning defense is the mistake of fact as to age. And that defense is significantly more powerful and has a much better chance of winning. And that's in addition to these procedural issues. If you're a military service member and you've been caught up in one of these sting operations and you don't want to have your life absolutely ruined, get on my calendar. We'll set up a consultation and I'll walk you through how to defend these cases. You can reach me at 813-669-3500 or reach out to us on our website at www.bileckilawgroup.com.